Good evening and welcome to Get the Skinny on Beachbody Weekly Coaching Chat, or whatever the heck it is we call this thing. And guess what? It's episode 13. Did I get it right this time, Shell?
Yep.
Yes.
All you guys on who was right.
We were a little confused about episode 11. Anyway, tonight, Shelly, Tom, and perhaps Amethyst and I, and her cat, are going to talk about, unless Stan makes an appearance, are going to talk about, you never know. I'm going to talk about the importance of giving ourselves the gift of health and fitness. So take it away, panel. Who would like to go first?
I'll open with this. I got this from Jim Rohn a long time ago, a classic, an oldie but a goodie. He said, it's a lot easier to go after your dreams if you got the health, you got the breath, and the vitality. You got all those things. It's just easier to go after your dreams. You got that kind of energy.
Yeah, totally.
That's right.
Totally.
And my first thought was, not only is it you give yourself that gift, but it, to use the corny phrase, the gift that keeps on giving, but it really is, because when you are operating at your top level, you get so much more done. And not only that, like, I think about my family and I don't want to be a burden on them if I can help it. So in a way, I'm giving them a gift too, because, I'll be able to, hopefully, there's always getting hit by a bus, but, barring things unforeseen, I will be able to take better care of myself longer if I'm doing it now.
Or weather the storm of something that comes along. You might get it through it more easily, or be able to heal yourself if you're not burdened by all kinds of other, health concerns.
You guys are reminding me of all kinds of stuff. Shelly, you reminded me of something I heard a long time ago that I've been running with periodically ever since. And that is, there's a lot of people in our lives that are not going to be around 5 or 10 years from now because of how they are health-wise. Mm-hmm. So a big gift you can give to other people around you, not only to not be a burden, but just to be here. And then if you can be here feeling good and able to do stuff, even better. So it's a pretty good gift to give the people that love and care about you. It's just simply be here, because there's a lot of people that aren't going to be here 5 or 10 years from now. And that's true for all of us. And then, Kelly, you said something that reminded me of something. I can't remember what it was now, so I might pop back in.
Okay. All right.
About getting through sickness easier if you're taking care of yourself.
Oh, yeah, but something along the lines of that. Okay, so I've noticed with some people that as they get older, when they get sick, treatments become limited. It's like, take my dad, for example. He got to a point where he could no longer have surgery, or it would kill him. He would never be able to breathe again on his own if he had to go under anesthetics. So therefore, it was impossible for him to have surgery, because it would basically mean he'd never wake up. So it's like, oh my God, what if something happens where he has to have surgery? Then what are we going to do? Well, that would be the end of him. And not just that, that's an extreme example, but I've noticed all kinds of things, and with different people, where if they let things go long enough, treatment options become very limited. The doctor's hand is tied behind his back, not just from the government, but now from that lifestyle. People let themselves go so far that treatments are very limited, and obviously that creates an enormous disadvantage for the patient, or the human.
Yeah. And not only that, not only do the treatments become limited, but sometimes based on your overall health and your age and and all kinds of factors, the insurance company won't authorize certain treatments because they basically say it's not worth it, because of where you are health-wise and your age. So
yeah, and that's a totally separate thing, though, and that's very valid. But I'm just talking about what mechanically can work for somebody. Well, no, it's off the table because they're too far gone, and a lot of people get into that predicament.
Yep.
And that's just the same as a person tying their doctor's hands behind, or at least one of their hands behind their back.
Yeah, when I was thinking about talking about this tonight, of course, all these thoughts that go through my mind are, okay, well, it's all well and good to convince people that they should, be the best version of themselves, health and fitness wise, that they should take care of themselves. But how do you get them to want to? There's a lot of people out there that are not in ill health. They don't know that they're on the slippery slope to poor health, because they're still at the point in their lives where they're younger and they still have that immortal, kind of thing going for them. They don't know that they're this close to hitting the windshield of life. How do we convince those people to give them the importance of giving themselves the gift?
Lead the conversation by asking questions. And if you can ask the right questions and you hit the right trigger points, then who knows? Maybe you'll trigger something in them that will turn on.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, we can't make anybody do anything that they don't really want to do or that they're not motivated to do.
Nope. That's why leading a conversation with questions and with something like that, I think, is the best shot. Because you never know. If you're asking questions, then they kind of have to dig in their brain and think about stuff, and they might pull something out that's important enough to them to be like, well, let's draw a line in the sand and make some changes.
Yeah, totally.
Versus lecturing somebody that isn't open. If somebody's open to a lecture, great. I love a good lecture, but I know a lot of people don't. So that's not going to work on most people.
Yeah.
That would be far and few in between examples. So if you got that person you're talking to, great, give them a good lecture. But otherwise, for most people, it's going to be because they're so self-absorbed. The only way you can get a self-absorbed person to even have a chance at opening up is you just ask questions that gets them to dig up information on their own, make them believe that they're the ones that thought it up because you asked a question, and then they might. That's the best shot, really, I think, anyway.
So do you, just for my own curiosity then, would you ask them questions about, like, without getting specific, but saying like, oh, do you know anyone in your family that deals with anything, like kind of making them see the connection with that person who's older than me fell down this path and now I'm going down it too? Or
that could be, but I think most of the time with somebody like that, that's probably not going to quite do it. And with some people it might, but I think most of the time with somebody like that, you ask them questions about themselves because they're the person they ultimately care about the most, no matter what they tell you. Because people are extremely self-absorbed. So you have to ask them questions that make them answer questions about themselves to develop some kind of a vision, 2 visions. What life is going to look like down the road if they don't make changes. You ask those kinds of questions that gets them thinking about that. And also what life could look like if they do make some changes. And then you get them, ask questions that gets them thinking about that too. And then maybe some questions that, maybe the ultimate questions would be questions that get them thinking about it would be worth it to make these changes. Something that gets them to make that realization on their own. Because if you directly plant that seed in a self-absorbed person's head, they're not likely to accept it. They'll be defensive, right? So the way to get past that stupid defensiveness is to ask them questions in a way where they believe that they're thinking of the ideas on their own, and then they can give themselves credit, which goes in perfect alignment with their self-absorption, and they got a shot then.
So to a certain extent, it's getting people to maybe open up about their goals, and
their why, their vision, their goals. And a lot of that is listening to their answers, and their answers will guide you to the questions you should be asking next, because their answers will clue you in on what's really important to them and maybe what tugs at their heartstrings. And then you can, based on that, you can figure out the next question to ask that will get them to think even more about themselves in a way that's possibly in alignment with some vision that they've painted for themselves.
Right.
So that's kind of an art, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it takes practice to get the cues and know where to go, so you don't completely
So the daily core of activities, it's all talking to people, like inviting people, striking new conversations. If you're a former, I'm not really a former, but whatever your method is, the daily core of activity is basically when you make the summation of the daily core of activities, you're talking to people every day. So when you're talking to people, you should be listening and paying attention and refining your approach and how you ask questions and how you talk to people, how you connect, and how you communicate. So if you're doing that every day, then, give it a year. It's like a year of talking to people every single day about meaningful chatter, then you're probably going to be light years better than you were a year ago.
Absolutely. I know I am.
That's the most valuable thing, in my opinion, about the daily core of activities, the vital behaviors. That is the most valuable thing about it. If you're doing them faithfully every day, then you can't help but be a better connector, communicator type person.
Right. Do you find there's a difference between the person that, you know, maybe kind of like talks a good game about, you know, wanting to improve their overall health, but really has never tried anything, and the person that has tried over and over and over and has quote unquote failed?
Yeah, I call them starters. I'm sorry, I call them non-starters and quitters. So there's some people that never get started. Those are the non-starters.
Right.
And there's the ones that give themselves a deadline to quit if it doesn't work by a certain amount of time, which is usually like 5 minutes. So those are the quitters. And those people, they don't have a big enough vision, in my view. And this is largely Ray Higdon material I'm citing now. But when Ray Higdon talked about your vision is either going to pull you or your circumstances are going to push you, and you have to develop a vision that's important enough to you that it's going to pull you through all the tough circumstances, because you're either going to be, what does he say? He says it much simpler than that. You're either going to be pushed around by your circumstances or pulled by your vision. Mm-hmm. So you have to develop a big vision. And this is the Danny Johnson part now merging with Ray Higdon. It's a great thing about learning from many teachers. But Danny Johnson says, and I believe this is true, the only piece of real estate you have complete absolute control over is that real estate between your ears. So your vision you have control over. If it's weak or if it's strong, that's an inside job. You control that. So the burden becomes, I need to build up my vision so that's more powerful than any circumstance that could push me around, because I don't want to be pushed around like a rag doll anymore.
Yeah, totally.
And then you can be a finisher. Imagine that, graduating from a non-starter or a quitter to a freaking finisher. Hi, Shelly.
Y'all know me. Sorry, I just can't help it. So anyway, that's important.
One of the things I find is that sometimes it's even if people seem doing this thing again, even though people seem to be open, sometimes they have a really hard time connecting with their why, their greater vision for themselves, and sometimes being willing to open up to it. Do you guys find that it's because they're just not self-aware enough, they don't really know how to verbalize it, or are we just poor at asking the right questions to get them to feel comfortable, really telling us so that we can help them connect to it?
That's a great question, and it's something that I haven't really given much thought to, but I do recognize, Kelly, that a lot of people don't really know what their purpose is supposed to be, and maybe that's why they have a really hard time getting connected to a strong vision, because they really don't have one. So there's some process of getting to know thyself that has to take place. I don't know.
Well, to hear we're throwing names around, but I think it was Eric Worre was talking about how it makes people on some level feel more intelligent to come up with reasons why not to do something before they are open to actually doing it. So I think a lot of the time it's an unconscious, no, there's got to be a catch. It's got to be wrong, and da-da-da-da-da. And then when they finally...
Look at me, I'm so smart.
What's that?
Look at me, I'm so smart. I'm finding the reason not to do it.
Exactly. But that's why it's important for us to continue to put out there, hey, it's working for me. This is what I'm doing, and this is how I feel, and this is my beautiful blood work numbers, and this is, to kind of get that because those are facts.
Yeah.
And there's only so many things they can say no to before it's like, well, this is a fact. So you can tell me no, but the paper says otherwise,
Yeah, I think you touched on something there really important, Shelly, and not just when we're having one-on-one conversations, but Tom, you're always encouraging us to do this. Hey, that's would be a good live or be a good video. We really need to talk more about our victories and being more open and vulnerable about those things. I find that sometimes people are put off by the fact, or they suspend their disbelief. No, they don't suspend a disbelief. They for some reason, if they look at you, you say you're a health coach and you've accomplished all these things in terms of your health, but they don't see that, you're a certain body type or a certain age or it's like they don't believe you for some reason, or there's this, I don't know, it just seems like they don't make the connection. And, a lot of this is not about, being, going from a size, in my case, from a 1X to being a size 8 again. It's, what this really is about is creating health from the inside out. But I find that a lot of people, they don't, they see us working out and drinking the shake and talking about how this has changed our lives in, our health and our fitness. But if they're not seeing, I think it's the culture. The culture says unless the ultimate result is that you could wear, that skimpy bikini and you're a certain, dimensions and you're a certain size or whatever, that nothing really happened, Do you know what I'm kind of getting at?
And that's why I think I've come a long way this past year sharing how it helps me fight my depression.
Right.
I can't show a picture of my depression shrinking, but I can share how much better I feel that way and how it's helped me with that. I'm not on meds anymore, like that kind of stuff.
Right.
I've shared. One thing that shows a lot is when I share the amount of money that Dave and I have saved by quitting smoking almost 5 years ago, and that the lifestyle change, like when I put that number up, people are like, whoa, those kinds of things. And I've also been showing when I go to do a side plank and I fall on my face that you don't have to be perfect at this, and it still has its benefits,
Right.
Talking about depression and whatever victories you score there, Shelley, I think blogging, like writing really good, well-written blogs.
I need to get back into that. I haven't written a blog in months.
Because depression is something that is, it's not quantifiable. You can't see it, like you said, but you can paint a picture with words versus a physical picture. You can paint a picture with words. The difference between then and now. So I think writing really great, amazing blogs around that would be cool.
And I also reshared my live video from last year where I got on asking people to, keep an eye out for people this time of year because depression definitely is magnified. And then I completely lost it. Like I just bawled on live video, and I got more watches out of that because it was real.
Good for you for keeping it up there and not taking it down.
Absolutely. Well, it's genuine, and that's what I want people to see. Like, the coach isn't doing it perfect 100% of the time. It's doing your best and enjoying the benefits of what you're doing, helping you.
Yeah.
My first video that I made after my dad passed on, which was a few weeks later, I think it was like 8 minutes into it or something, I started to break down a bit. Nope, I'm not editing it. And I actually said that on the video.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you didn't, because that's sharing that it's okay. We're allowed to have feelings. That's being a human. So.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
But yeah, back to giving ourselves the gift of health.
Yeah, there's so many people. There's, I mean, in what I do outside the home, I see so many people who are suffering, and that the gift of health and fitness would do so much for. And a lot of these people, even if I could talk to them, because I can't, not in my place they were doing it again. Not there. I can't. I think a lot of them, that there's two things going on. They even if I could talk to them about giving themselves the gift of health and fitness, a lot of them feel that they're too far gone. they're so sick, or they've been taking this medication forever, or whatever, that they're too far gone, that there's no turning back, that there's no turning back the clock in terms of their health. And some of them are just attached to their misery. They don't know what they would do without it. Well, what do we do with those people?
What else are they going to talk about? We all know someone like that. And it's a sin. It really is like the only happy when it rains kind of mentality.
Yeah.
Whenever something comes up that is so tragic or whatever, I think to myself immediately, there's someone out there that had it worse than you and they figured it out because they're more open than you, or who knows why. So I think what it boils down to here, and here's a Robert Kiyosaki piece of training I got. So many trainers. You could say something so simple and it makes complete sense to somebody, and they can't hear it. There's something going on there and they can't hear it. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter if it makes perfect sense, if it's easy peasy, and it fits them like a shoe or a glove. That's the saying. Some people cannot hear it. It does not matter. And so they'll dodge, they'll deflect, they'll scapegoat, and they may not even realize they're doing it. They could be completely oblivious that they just cannot hear the message. And maybe next week, next year, they will hear it. Who knows? But at that moment, it just doesn't matter. So that's why it's important, in my view, to see who's open and who's open now. Those are the people that we share this with. And the ones that aren't open now, some of them might be next week, next year, and some of them never will, and they'll die closed. And we don't know who that's going to be. And we don't understand why some people can't hear it. We just know that that's the way that it is. Some people will not hear it, no matter how simple it is and how easy and this and that. Some people just won't hear it.
Well, it's kind of like if we were actually like giving someone a present. There's people that when they get a present, it's exactly what they wanted and they're going to use it every day. And some people you can give the same thing to and they're going to put it on the shelf and they're never going to use it. Or maybe like Tom said, a year later, they're going to go, oh, hey, I forgot about this. How cool is this? And now it's all where they are in that moment.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or they're going to re-gift it.
Yeah, that's true. If anyone out there would like to re-gift a bag of Shakeology, send it my way.
Yeah, really. Yeah, totally.
I love it. Love it.
Right here.
I need to make more candy for the holidays out of my Shako.
Yeah.
That'd be yummy.
Speaking of that, I'm so glad that my profit group is not a place where you constantly see people saying, hey, I got an extra bag of Shakeology. Who wants to buy one for me?
Yeah. No, you would have to pry it out of my cold, dead hands.
I hate that in some of the groups that I'm in. I see that stuff. I haven't seen it in a little while, actually. So maybe that nonsense has stopped. But like you go to a Beachbody coaching page and like every other day there's someone, I got some extra bags of Shakeology. Who wants to buy? I'll just sell it at my coaching discount price.
What?
What? Then you're not using it right.
Maybe the admins stopped, people from doing that. Hopefully, because I'm like, man, if that ever happened in my group, I have to politely, kindly talk to those people to never ever make a post like that ever again in a coaching business group.
Yeah, that's kind of
like, I have this flavor that I don't care for, and I will trade you for one that I do.
Well, that's different.
Because we all know that one flavor that not
right.
Yeah, that's different. So, that's totally cool. That's a coach helping another coach out.
I never sell my Shakeology. No way. Mm-mm. Well, I use it, so I don't ever have any extra.
No, I can't imagine that at all.
No, I can't either.
I mean, unless they're buying it, they're buying it they signed up everybody in their family as coaches and they're buying, getting a bag for every single person and everybody's not drinking it.
Well, that's what I mean. They can't be using it right. And then they can't complain that it doesn't work if you're not using it right. So
I still wouldn't want it in my group. I just don't want that kind of culture created because there's such a negative stigma to, at least in my, it's a very low energy. And so I'm thinking about like a new person that sees that. It's like, no, skip that.
Yeah. Nope. Well, that's because we're all in your profit group and we're all drinking our shakeout.
Yeah, that's right. I also read something the other day. Some other coach said about how you shouldn't, if you have, I mean, it's like he basically implied that coaches shouldn't try to convince prospects customers of the, to drink Shakeology, because I basically implied that was kind of like outmoded thinking. And I'm thinking to myself, I love the exercise programs and they really work. And, I'll be doing Beachbody programs forever, but Shakeology is like the bomb. I mean, people want Shakeology. They need Shakeology. I mean, it's a game changer. And once you start drinking it and you realize what it does for you and your body and your mind and everything, why would you not want to convince people? I'm not saying force anybody, but why would you not want to convince people that this is like the cornerstone? This is like where it all begins. This is where it all starts. It's with what we fuel our body with, and it goes back. It goes back to something, Tom, you said at the very beginning, which is when we started, about how when you're healthy, your health. You didn't say health is your first wealth, but that's basically what you were saying. Health is your first wealth. The only way to get healthy is from the inside out, and it starts with how we fuel our bodies, and once you create that health within yourself, everything flows out from it. Your creativity, your passion, your purpose, everything, all positive, wonderful things flow from that. And to say that's it's not important to give it your best shot to get everybody you possibly know to drink Shakeology is just, it's insanity to me. I don't understand it. It's not just a shake. It's not just a meal replacement. It's preaching to the choir, but for the love of God.
Well, let me give you a couple of nuances here about the word convince. So I guess convince could be a good thing when you're arguing semantics. But for me, when I think of convincing, I think of pulling somebody's arm and being a sleazy salesperson and this. I realize for somebody else that's not at all what it means. But for me personally, that's what I think of when I hear the word convince. So I don't like using that word. What I like to do is just, one, find out who's open, and two, share the information in a way that's in alignment to what they said is important to them. And then from there, I want them to sell it to themselves. I want them to convince themselves, not so much me. That's sort of how I look at it.
Right. And sharing and informing is not persuading.
And informing, not just informing though, but informing in a way that is in alignment with what they said is really important to them. Mm-hmm. So, and that's really, so I'm not just sharing information. It's like, I want to know what's important to them, what their goals are, what their problems are. And so I want to give them a solution. And I want to share information with them in a way that speaks to what they just told me. Right. And then from there, they got to sell it to themselves. And sometimes I've actually said that to people. Like if somebody after all that, they're like, well, tell me why I should do this. And I'll say, no, I want you to sell it to yourself if you're going to do this. I'm just going to give you information, something like that. But I've literally told that to people before, where it's like they're expecting me to do a tap dance and not, a spiteful way or whatever. And so I'll just say, no, I want this to be something you sell to yourself. If you want to do this, I'd love to do this with you. We'll lock arms and we'll do this. It'll be great. But you got to do it for the right organic reasons. Otherwise, you're just going to quit. And I don't want you to do this if you're just going to quit, because I'm over that.
And there's a lot of that, because it took me months of no before I was like, you know what? I'll get a bag. If I don't like it, I can get my money back. Because you get the 30 days. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'll give it a shot and I'll see what happens. And I kicked myself for waiting. But, I understand what you're saying, though. Like, the person that was telling me about it could have told me everything under the sun, and I'm no, because I wasn't open then. And then once I was, it's been every day since then.
All right. Pretty awesome.
It is. It's just the fact that, I have 3 kids in public school that come home with all kinds of germs, and I don't get them, like, like that alone is worth it to me. The amount of colds I haven't had is so wonderful. So.
Same here. I used to get violently ill 2 or 3 times a year, and I started this 10 years ago, and I have not been violently ill a single time in those 10 years, where I used to get violently ill 2 or 3 times a year.
Yep. And those are, again, the things that you can't say, look, these are all the colds I didn't get this year, but we know how our bodies were, and they're not like that anymore.
I was just going to follow up with, and yet I still can't legally give this product credit for that. But yeah. I can at least say it supported me in that, and I can say something like, it started at the same time. So right. You do the math work out there, my friends. You can add 2 and 2. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to. And from there, it's so obvious. People are going to, at that point, they're going to be like, oh yeah, must have something to do with it.
Yep, exactly.
I even, what was I doing? I was working with a wood chipper, and it took off one of my legs. I'm not kidding. My right leg was gone. And so I rubbed Shakeology over the stump as a topical solution. It grew back. 90 days, it grew back. I have a fully functional leg again. And the FDA is going to tell me that I can't make the claim Shakeology did that? Nah.
It's so wrong.
Yep.
I was also bald once. I mean, I lost all my hair, and then I just did this a few times a week, and it all grew back in 9 days.
Wow. Even though you did it a few times a week, it grew back in 9 days.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't that incredible? Yes. And it grew back longer and stronger than before.
Yes. I wonder why they won't let you say that that's true.
Here's the ultimate. I can't believe I'm not allowed to say this, but my last girlfriend, Lorena, bobbited me. I rubbed some on, and it grew back longer and stronger than ever.
I was waiting. I knew you were going there. I don't know how I knew. I just knew.
Lorena bobbited me, and it's longer and stronger than ever.
Well, good for you.
Good for you.
Good for you.
And now you just keep rubbing it on there. Just go. Wait, this isn't the after call yet.
Hey, where's Karen?
Oh my goodness, what would Karen have said in response to that one? I can't even imagine. It would be something that would not be predictable.
Yes.
Well, we have 2 minutes left. Any closing remarks?
Yes. If you want to be longer and stronger, you rub Shakeology on it. I'm like a child right now.
I know. It's hilarious.
Just right now? Just this moment?
Just right now. This has never happened before.
No, never.
Yes,
never.
Yes. You're usually so mature and responsible. Believe me, it takes one to know when I'm not insulting you at all.
Oh, I know. I'm in good empathetic company. I realize that.
Yes. Yeah. After giving yourself the gift of health and fitness, you too can regress and be immature like Tom.
It takes energy.
It takes energy. Takes dedication. Takes focus.
It takes breath. It takes vitality.
Yes.
And if you want to be ambitious, you could live an ambition-less life and a life with no passion and no dreams. And I guess you'll never be disappointed. But if you got some dreams and some passion and stuff that's going to take some hard work, being healthy is going to certainly make that easier. There's no question about it. And then to take the issue off of yourself, if we can be not self-absorbed like everyone else for a moment. There's so many people that love and care about us. And that really is the best gift you can give other people, is to be around and to be around as healthy as you can.
And to give them that inspiration.
There's people that are in my life that aren't here anymore that I miss terribly. And my God, it was lifestyle choices, man. I would do anything to have some of these people back,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Totally.
So that's the closing note.
And no doubt we'll talk about this topic another day.
Yes.
But in the meantime, until next week in episode 14, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all then.
Bye.
Can't find it.